Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Lionel, and I'm your host for L2 Productions. You are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Sistas. This is season 9, episode 5. I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video, and you can also subscribe to my channel, and you can leave your comments below. Let's get into this episode. Okay, so we start off with Sabrina, which there isn't much movement in my opinion. Sabrina and Rich, they're fighting and going off, blah, 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 blah. Kind of the same old. And then, of course, we see Penelope comes in. She says, look, it's not what you think. We're just friends, da-da-da-da-da. Sabrina doesn't want to hear it, and she kicks them both out of her office. Maurice is giving his usual comedic stuff to say about the girl and all that, but was first instigating part of the fight. So that was a little bit interesting. But that was that on that. Andy's in her office, and she's trying to read over some documents that she has, but you see all of a sudden that she's replaying the scenes of when she was kidnapped, and we hear Jasmine's voice and all of that. So she has post-traumatic stress, and later on she calls it anxiety, which is part of it anyways. But anyway, she does what she can, and she pulls it together, and she starts reading one of that racist doctor's cases, where he was ignoring this person who had a C-section, or and it was performed within 14 minutes. Now, I'm no doctor, I've never been pregnant, so I don't know what that's like, how long it takes, whatever. But anyways, she's already got some cases that she can really build up. Do we want to move on from there? I'm trying to think. We can stay with Andy. Andy is calling Fatima, or she's trying to look at her phone or whatever, and she hears messages or a message for Robin. You know, Robin was at the airport and all that, and you kind of wondered what was happening. This is like the 5th episode, so you can imagine that this has got to be about, what, a day or so or whatever, and she hadn't even listened to her messages. But Robin was declaring his love, but at the same time, he was letting her go. And that was, I don't want to say, it seemed like it made her sad, because possibly she felt like she could have made some effort. Later on, Fatima comes, and they talk a little bit about the case for Karen, and then they get into some personal-ish, because Fatima can sense that Andy's going through something, and they talk a little bit about anxiety. And they talk about, black women, heavy as the crown. You do the best that you can, even with this type of anxiety that's over you. Fatima confessed that she has it too, and you just keep on keeping on. I wish there was better actions that us as black people would take as far as the different emotions. I mean, we have had the same fortitude and attitude and behavior since slavery, which just taught you to keep on keeping on, because we were forced to, no matter what we felt like, we had to work for master and build America and keep their estates together. So I wish there was a different way, because still at the same time, with anxiety and all this stuff, that creates blood pressure issues, hypertension and all that stuff. And it's good to just try to see a doctor just to check out your bodies, because your body is also responding to the emotions that you have. Yeah, so before Fatima talks with this guy, she calls home to Zach. Zach is not there. He's trying to be strong, and he can't. Fatima asked him, have you eaten? And he said, yeah, I ate a donut. And Fatima said, So she ordered some food for him and saying, it's on the way. You need to eat. And for some reason, he's kind of whiny towards her in regards to that. I don't know if he didn't want her help, or he just didn't have an appetite. I mean, I guess I'm just trying to figure out what was going on, because he did eat a donut, and maybe that's filling to him. But it was just a little bit interesting. With Zach, we see this big old bottle of liquor, brown at that. He's trying to find ways. He's playing games. It's still not really working. And we'll get more back to him in just a minute. let's go on over to the airport. Of course, Tony has announced that he's leaving and all that, and Danny's like, "Are you serious?" And Tony's like, "Well, you told me to do that. I just listened to you." She's like, "Yay!" So now she's got remorse for even telling Tony to not keep his job, which is, I don't know. Anyways, the people escort him out with his box and all that, and it's a comedic moment. They go out to lunch. She's not in the mood to eat, and he's there enjoying his food and thinking about all the possibilities. He was really tired of the job that he was at, and he's saying that I'm just really loving freedom. And she's like, "Well, I'm going to stick over here in reality while you try to stay in freedom when there's bills to pay." And he just said, "Relax. I'm not broke. I have a little something, I can take care of this, but now I can really find out what I want to do." But you can tell that Danny's just not really with it. She struggled, and she finally just said, "I support you." This is going to be interesting. Are Tony and Danny in game? I don't know. When I first started rewatching the show, which I think that was season 7, season 8, whatever season it was. That's when Tony was really supportive of Danny in therapy and all that good stuff, and they seem to have had a good relationship at that point. And then, of course, his baby mama showed up. Well, the children showed up, and then the baby mama, which I just thought was weird that they were on. None of it made sense. I know that they wanted to show some type of conflict between them, but it was just too much, and Tony treated her like ish, and I didn't like him and all that good stuff, just I don't know if they're in game at this point. I don't see the solidness in them. They have sex pretty well, but what's up? For some reason, Danny's holding on, and I'm surprised she hasn't really kicked him to the curb, knowing who Danny is. However, maybe she doesn't want to do that, especially with him just quitting his job. I don't know. Danny goes back to the airport, and she's doing her job, and the next thing you know, one of her cousins, whom she hasn't seen forever, shows up at her job. He just got out of jail. I don't remember his name. And he knows that she got a little money from this whole settlement. And that's why you don't tell nobody. Don't tell nobody. But anyway, that's neither here or there. So he's trying to butter her up and all that. She just said, he asks, can he borrow some money? She hands him a 20. Of course, he's complaining about that. Like, well, look, that's all I'm gonna give you right now. Of course, he was like, I want to borrow something, and I don't know what I'm gonna pay you back, but I'm gonna borrow something. At least he's semi-honest. Said, I don't know when I'm gonna pay you back. Some people be like, let me hold it till Friday. And that Friday never really comes. Then that dude, I don't know if his name's Tyler or whatever, comes over there like, look, I don't think that you guys should be over here doing this. You know all the inappropriate stuff that you've done around here before, and you don't have Tony around here to protect you anymore. And then both of them just started clowning his tail, and he ran with his tail between his legs yet again. Crazy. Yeah, Karen. I was talking about Sabrina earlier, right? Yeah, Sabrina's over with. Aaron's up, and Miss Lisa, they talk. Of course, she was thinking about things to buy from the store, but she's like, I don't know if I want to buy anything because she's not eating, but we got to get her up and walking and all that stuff. They talk about the PTSD and all that, and postpartum and all that, and rightfully so, but we just can't give up on her. Aaron wanted to express himself, but he still didn't say anything to Mama Lisa regarding how he's even feeling as a father. But he did make a declaration he's not leaving or anything of that nature. And she was like, sit beside her. We're going to get her through this, da-da-da-da-da. Ms. Lisa goes to the store. We hear Karen calling for Mama as she's walking out the door, but Aaron didn't stop her. He ends up bringing the baby into the room. And of course, Karen's not really responsive until probably the end. She's like, I don't think I was meant to be a mother. And Aaron's like, of course. I lost one. Yeah, you lost one. We get it. We understand. But if you weren't meant to be a mother, then Faith wouldn't be here. And Faith needs her mother. We need you. And da-da-da-da-da. She's still not responsive, so he goes into the bedroom, or back into the other room. Back at the office, one of the secretaries comes to get Andy and calls Fatima about that there's somebody that Miss Marie wants Andy to see. Fatima goes to see him. Xavier is his name, and he's now within, I think, the basketball league or football league, whichever one. Anyways, pretty cute. He's cute. He talks with Fatima because Ms. Marie sent him over to look over his contract that he has. And he was lightly flirting with Fatima. But anyway, she goes to the contract and sees, hey, they own your likeness and image and all that. And he's like, what? And also, they can terminate him for any cause that they want to, and they can keep all the money that they promised him, according to his contract. Kind of like this 360 deals that a lot of people in the industry, entertainment world, sign, because they'll lure you in and dangle this prize in front of you, and really you're signing over your whole life. And a lot of people who've never been famous, who've never been able to touch some money, who want to help out their family, and who want to not be the statistic for their community or family, and even what the world says, they'll jump on it because this is their way out and into something different. So he looked it over and he was like, I really want you to be a part of this. And she was like, well, no, this is Andy would do this, da 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 da. Fatima also suggested that he talked with his management because he's just ready to take them on as lawyers. He's like, well, look, I'm gonna tell the rest of my guys to come see you guys, da 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 da. And she was like, still, let your management. He said, I'm gonna take you on, and everything's okay. Then we'll talk with management and all that. Whatever. She still advised him the right way of doing things. Hayden is filling space, and if I want to really say, Maurice is too. Pam is too. As of right now, it is only episode 5, I think, or 6. But it's just like they just come in for a few seconds to say some lines that don't really give anything, in my opinion. Pam was in this episode, and we'll talk about her in just a few minutes. Anyways, Hayden comes in, and he's starstruck with Xavier. In college, he knew him, blah, 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 as far as on the watching him do his thing in sports. Anyways, he was trying to sell himself while trying to downgrade Fatima. Trying to say, well, Fatima's just a paralegal. That's just like someone that working at McDonald's and says that they're a chef. And Fatima said, well, Hayden is the one that is over the sauces and can't get any of the orders right. Xavier laughs and all that, and then he felt disrespected, as Hayden did, but Hayden, nobody asked you. So Miss Marie comes in, because Hayden was offering his services, he can do PR, da 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 da. Miss Marie comes in and busts all that up and says, what kind of track record Hayden has, and she was about to miss out on a lot because of him, and he wasn't really watchful, da 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 da. She just told Fatima, hopefully in Barnes is going to do all this, da 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 da, and she moves on, and that was that for that. What else? Danny. She comes by to see Zach. She had to go check up on her boy. I love their relationship, and I've loved their relationship since season 1 when I started watching. So those were the two that were my highlights when I started when the show first began. Anyways, he don't smell right. Like, you need to pick yourself up, blah 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 blah. Zach feels like he failed. He feels like he should not have been so hard on Karen, always doing too much. And Danny was like, you can't blame yourself for this, and all this stuff. You're not perfect. Fatima sees that. However, he felt like he keep taking a lot of losses. He said, well, you need to concentrate on Fatima and the baby that you're going to have. Those are your wins and all that stuff. So she said, I'm going to help you through it. And then they smoke a little smoke. Yeah. And she says a little bit. She doesn't really. She rambles on an event about Tony and him deciding to quit his job. But there wasn't really much feedback from Zach in regards to that, because she kind of just let that roll off her tongue and then left it alone. But she was just there for him, and he talked about the stress eating and all that stuff. So Aaron did get a call from Pam. She was just checking in, and then that scene was just kind of like mediocre to me. Just Pam's having this conversation really by herself, and then creating these problems that are going on with the shop. First she said everything's handled, and all of a sudden we're hearing all this other jargon that's happening, which to me was just like, why? Like, it didn't make sense. Not at all. Yeah, the side characters aren't even siding, in my opinion. But hey, um, Karen finally comes out of her room, and she says that I want a bottle of water. He said Aaron said I have some in my trunk. He puts the baby down and says I'll be right back. After Aaron steps out, the baby gets fussy. Karen's first instinct is to go over to her, but then she stops. Like, what do I do? And then that same guilt and grief that's over her says, I can't really do it for you. I'm not meant to be a mom. And she says sorry. She goes back into the room and shuts the door. It's quite crazy. Now, some people have come up with a theory saying that Karen's just sad that she doesn't have Zach's baby. What do y'all think about that? I don't think so. I don't even think that that's the way the writers are writing it. She lost a child, y'all. She went through trauma just trying to deliver both babies. And finding out that your child is gone before you had to have an emergency C-section just to see if they could save the remaining baby and her own life. I think we just gotta let it go as far as what we've seen between Karen and Fatima, but I know that beef was for years, so I know that the fans are just going to have their way in how they feel about Karen. But anyways, that was the end of the episode. Tell me what you thought of it. Y'all agree with me with how the side characters are? And again, it is only episode 5, or 6. I think it's 5. But they can't be shining like that. But it just seems like that they're just a little bit more of a waste than what they have been in recent seasons. So I don't know. Let me know how you think about this whole episode. Like this video. You can also share it. Check out my other playlist. There's other things on there. The Hunting Wives. It's currently on Netflix. Have y'all gotten to that show yet? It's a phenomenon. Them Texas white women are a trip. It's a drama, not a reality show. Now, another reality show I'm reviewing, Heart and Hustle Houston. It's pretty good. We just had the second episode, so I reviewed both of those 2 episodes, and it's pretty good. I think it's just 8 episodes. So give it a try on a Sunday or during the week. And then you can come by and see my review. Of course, I do love a Marriage Huntsville, and I'm doing other type of topics that I like to call Speak Up. Anything from news reports or gossip and things of that nature. So, all right, but I am over and out. And until the next one, peace.